like Boeing, to maximize the potential for space-related economic growth. As a state and as a nation, we all have a vested interest in seeing commercial crew and cargo companies succeed. Companies like Boeing and SpaceX and Orbital Sciences and Sierra Nevada and many others must succeed not only in their commercial space endeavors, but we would like them especially to succeed well in Florida. This state will do its part to make that happen. For those shuttle workers that are watching what is happening today, Florida will remain a vital and important part of the nation's space future. And I know that with announcements like today's, we will continue to lead the way. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce my partner in this venture in Boeing, John Elbon, who is the Vice President and General Manager of Boeing's Space Exploration Division. John is responsible for the strategic direction of Boeing's civil space programs and support of NASA programs in general, including the International Space Station, commercial crew development, checkout assembly, and payout processing services, and for Boeing's activities in support of NASA's future space launch system. Prior to his current role, John served as the Vice President and Program Manager of Boeing's commercial programs, managing the company's efforts in a variety of areas. He is very adept at leveraging innovations and capabilities across Boeing for NASA and other commercial customers. I've known John for a long time and admire his capabilities and integrity that he brings to this new role. Please join me in welcoming John Elbon to the podium.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning. What a great venue this is. It really underscores the inflection point that our human spaceflight program is going through. In the access stands behind the stage, you can see the outline of the space shuttle. And it's a strong reminder of the recent past. When you enter this building and see it, it kind of causes a twinge of sadness, I think. Shuttle was a great engineering achievement and an incredibly capable vehicle. It was the workhorse that we used to build the International Space Station. But it was also expensive to operate, and continuing with it as our transportation system to the International Space Station would have left little funding in NASA's budget to develop capabilities for the next steps in human exploration of the solar system. If we're going to find a way to fund exploration beyond the vicinity of Earth, low Earth orbit, particularly in today's fiscally constrained environment, we've got to find a way to do the job of transporting crew to the International Space Station in a more affordable manner. That's one of the primary purposes of the Commercial Crew Program, to provide affordable access to low Earth orbit so that we can use the International Space Station as the great laboratory it is, realize a return on the investment made by the world, and at the same time have funds within NASA's budget for development of capabilities like the Space Launch System and the Multipurpose Crew Vehicle for the next phases of exploration. We also hope that by providing safe, reliable, and affordable transportation to low Earth orbit, that will enable new markets to develop. Markets such as those described by Space Adventures, the company that brokered the 8 flights of private spaceflight participants on Soyuz capsules to the International Space Station, and also by Bigelow Aerospace, who's developing the Bigelow Space Complex. As those markets mature and the flight rate for commercial crew increases, the economies of scale will make the cost of NASA's transportation to ISS even more affordable and will free up even more funding within NASA's budget for exploration beyond the vicinity of Earth. From the beginning, Boeing has viewed commercial crew this way, not as a competitor with systems like SLS and MPCV, but as a complementary enabler of a bold plan for exploration beyond low Earth orbit. For these reasons, we're excited about the progress today's announcements represent and look forward to an exciting future for CST-100. The people on the platform here today have played a big role in getting us to this point, and on behalf of Boeing, I'd like to add my thanks to those of Frank's. First, Deputy Administrator Lori Garver. Lori has taken real ownership and has a passion for the Commercial Crew Program. As Frank worked to broker the arrangement between NASA and Boeing so that this facility could be made available, she took real ownership of that and worked it through NASA headquarters, enabling us to be here today. Center Director Bob Cabana, since the start of this transition, has leaned forward. Nothing like this happens without support from the top, and the center and the local area are really fortunate to have Bob as the leader as he embraces the future and the path forward. Frank DeBello just spoke. He's worked tirelessly as the broker to make today happen. His understanding of government and business make him the ideal person to put together an agreement that can work in a commercial environment and still satisfy government regulations. Senator Nelson could be called the architect of our new human spaceflight program. While others were arguing their parochial views of which direction we should go, Senator Nelson stood up as a true leader, worked hard to understand all the perspectives, and crafted the compromise that became the Senate Authorization Act. Without the Senator's leadership, I'm not sure the deadlock would have been broken and we might still not have a path forward. Representatives Posey and Adams are staunch supporters of human spaceflight and great advocates for this area. Their leadership in Congress has been critical to sustaining momentum. Governor Scott and Lieutenant Governor Carroll have been instrumental in creating an attractive environment for business across the state. In particular, their support for funding Space Florida is a big reason why we're able to be here today, making these announcements. It takes great leadership to make new things happen, and we're certainly blessed with that on this stage today. A big round of applause for all of them. Now I'd like to introduce John Mulholland. John is Boeing's program manager for the Commercial Crew Program. Prior to that, he managed our participation in the Space Shuttle program, and so he brings with him a discipline and an understanding of the challenges that it takes to make human spaceflight safe, reliable. That's important as we move to a more commercial environment for transporting humans to space, because if we lose sight of the rigor required to ensure those safe and reliable operations, it won't work as effectively as it needs to. John will ensure that that happens. John?
Thank you, John. Good morning and welcome to Boeing's Commercial Crew Celebration. Before I make our announcement, I'd like to again thank all of our distinguished guests as well as my teammates and customers for your support, not only for Commercial Crew, but for everything you do to enable the future of human space exploration. This will ensure the United States remains the leader in space, science, and technology. For more than 50 years, Boeing has worked side by side with NASA to design, develop, manufacture, and operate human and robotic space vehicles, including Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Space Shuttle, and the International Space Station. Our Commercial Crew team is focused on leveraging this unique human spaceflight legacy, coupled with bringing in innovative design, manufacturing, and operations approaches from across the Boeing portfolio, including commercial spacecraft, commercial aircraft, and DoD fixed-wing and rotary aircraft. As we continue to use the International Space Station's outstanding research capabilities, we also realize that we are in the unfortunate position of having a single fault-tolerant access for crew to the International Space Station. With the partnership of NASA and adequate funding from Congress, we can deliver a commercial crew transportation system to the International Space Station that is safe, affordable, reliable, and available in 2015. Today, I'm happy to announce that the Boeing Company has selected Florida for its Commercial Crew Program Office. In addition, we plan to manufacture, test, and operate Boeing CST-100 in this facility, OPF-3, and we will launch from right here on Florida's Space Coast. Florida's selection made sense because of the business advantages achieved with co-location, the skilled local workforce, the outstanding facilities, and the proximity of our NASA customer. Boeing's Commercial Crew program will create high-technology jobs using the experienced space exploration workforce we have in this country. In Florida, when we reach full operations in 2015, we project our local workforce will grow to approximately 550 employees. As part of our ongoing development effort under the NASA Commercial Crew Development Space Act Agreement, we will soon begin OPF-3 building modifications and production outfitting. This program would not have been possible without the involvement of numerous individuals and organizations. I would like to express my gratitude to NASA, the state of Florida, Space Florida, Space Coast EDC, Enterprise Florida, Brevard Workforce, and the Brevard Board of County Commissioners. In closing, I would also like to acknowledge all the teammates across Boeing that are hard at work in their passion for human space exploration. I know we're all working very hard at the opportunity to once again provide a United States capability to launch crew to the International Space Station. Thank you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. She was nominated by President Obama and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. As NASA's second in command, she works closely with the administration to provide overall leadership, planning, and policy direction for the agency. Together with the NASA administrator, she represents NASA to the Executive Office of the President, heads of government agencies, international organizations, external organizations, and communities. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Lori Garver, Deputy Administrator for NASA.
Thank you very much, John. And John, I love what you've done with the place so far. On behalf of NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden and the President Barack Obama, it is a pleasure to be here. As you were saying, John, it is all about leadership, and they have provided the true leadership that has made today possible. I want to first congratulate Bob Cabana and Frank Dobello on this milestone achievement. Frank has been a mentor of mine for more than 25 years, and it's very appropriate that you help lead this effort. It's a great day for NASA, for Kennedy Space Center, Boeing, Space Florida, and the commercial space industry here on the Space Coast. Long before the final space shuttle flight landed here at Kennedy on July 21st, Bob was already thinking about ways to ensure that future operational and economic health of this critical and historic center. Kennedy and the entire Space Coast have been synonymous with NASA's historic 30-year shuttle program, as well as America's first 50 years in human spaceflight. And the government and the agreement that we've reached today with Spaceport Florida will help set up an even brighter future. It's a major boost to NASA's development of a U.S. commercial crew space transportation capability to achieve safe, reliable, and cost-effective access to and from the International Space Station and to future low Earth orbit destinations. It's a major boost to the local economy here because it's going to create jobs and ensure that Florida's Space Coast remains strong and vibrant. So thank you, Bob, for being the driving force behind this exciting new partnership. I also want to congratulate the members of the Florida Congressional Delegation who are here with us today, including, of course, the Dean of the Delegation, the only sitting member of Congress to have flown in space. Senator Bill Nelson was a payload specialist on the 1986 Space Shuttle Columbia flight. Happened to have a certain pilot, oh yes, Charlie Bolden. As all of you know, the Senator has worked tirelessly to ensure that NASA's mission, strategy, and resources continue to push the boundaries of the possible while spurring job growth and economic development here on the Space Coast. As John said, we really owe this common path forward to Senator Nelson, and we thank you. I also want to thank Governor Rick Scott for working to ensure that Florida remains at the center of America's historic achievements in space exploration. You and Lieutenant